Hello friends, let us continue our previous lecture on Al-Gamal crypto system. So we have seen how to just generate the keys in Al-Gamal crypto system. Now next step is the encryption. So how Al-Gamal encryption works, let us see that. Assume that a message is to be sent to someone who has public key, PRA, this triplet is the public key, and also corresponding private key, K. Then first convert the message which is in English letters to its numerical equivalent, that is 0 to 25 for A to Z. If M is greater than or equal to P, then divide the message into blocks, each block of same size, preferably even number. And it may be necessary to add extra digit, say Z25, then you just write its numeric. So if you are writing Z, then take 25, or if you are writing something else, then take its numerical equivalent. So mostly we are going to see that Z is used for extra digits. So we just write the numerical equivalent and just divide the message into blocks. So each block is encrypted separately. If B denotes the first block, then the sender, who is aware of the recipient's public key, arbitrarily selects an integer j from 2 to p minus 2 and then computes these two values, C1, which is r to the power j mod p, and C2, which is b into a to the power j modulo p, where C1 and C2 these lie from 0 to p minus 1. The numerical ciphertext associated with the block B is the pair of integers C1 and C2. So what we are doing, we have selected arbitrarily j from 2 to p minus 2 and then computed C1, which is r to the power j mod p, and C2, which is b is your block, b a to the power j mod p. Then just send this pair C1 C2 as the ciphertext. So the numerical ciphertext associated with the block B is this pair C1 C2. It is possible in case greater security is needed for the choice of J to be changed from block to block. So we can change J block to block for the security purpose. So once the encryption is done, then we have to decrypt the message. So the recipient of the ciphertext can recover the block B by using the secret key K. So how? Let us see. She needs to evaluate first C1 to the power. So because she knows C1, C2, that pair. So C1 to the power P minus 1 minus K. K is the secret key which is already known to her. So C1 to the power P minus 1 minus K mod P. That can be computed. And then P, which is congruent to C2 into C1 to the power P minus 1 minus K. So P will be congruent to C2 into C1 to the power P minus 1 minus K, and that will be, so C2 is B into A to the power J, and the C1 is R to the power J. So this will be B into R to the power K to the power J, and then R to the power J P minus 1 minus JK. And this is congruent to B R to the power P minus 1 to the power J, and which is what? Which is congruent to B mod P, because R to the power P minus 1, this is congruent to 1 mod P by Fermat's theorem. So this B is obtained. So this is the decryption process. Now let us see this question. Here you will be clear how we are doing this encryption and decryption. So suppose this message is sell now, and the secret key is K, which is 15, and encryption key is this triplet PRA, that is 43, 3 and 22. So where 22 is congruent to 3 to the power 15 modulo 43. So first we are going to convert this message to its numerical equivalent, which is this. Then to create the ciphertext, the sender selects an arbitrary integer j from 2 to 41. Let us choose j is equal to 23. Then calculate r to the power j, that is 3 to the power 23, which is congruent to 34 modulo 43. And a to the power j, which is 22 to the power 23, and which is congruent to 32 modulo 43. Next, compute the product a to the power j into b, which is 32b modulo 43 for each 2-digit block B of M. So the first block is 18. Therefore, we have to compute 32 into 18. So 32 into 18 under modulo 43 is congruent to 17. So your first block is 17. So then next, similarly, you can transform other blocks also. The digital message M is transformed into a new string 17, 42 up to 16. So this is encryption now. So this is your digital string. Then the ciphertext that is communicated, this thing is not communicated because we know the communication is done in pairs. So the ciphertext that is communicated takes this form 3417. So like, let us see this. Yeah. So this is your M dash, and this 3417, this first, and 3442, 3408, this coming from here, and then 348, 348, 3429, 3418, 3416. So this is your ciphertext. So as you can see that we are following these steps only. Look, this C1 is R to the power j, C2 is B A to the power j, and C1, C2 is sent as a ciphertext. This thing we are doing here. Then decryption, the receiver uses the secret key. So R to the power j to the power p minus 1 minus k will be 34 to the power 27, which is congruent to 39 modulo 43. So each second entry in the ciphertext, that is this 42, 8 like this. Each second entry in the ciphertext pair is decrypted on multiplication by this last value. The first letter S in the sender's sender's original message would be recovered from the congruence. 18 is congruent to 39 modulo 43, and so on. So this was the whole process of encryption and decryption, and so this was our Al-Gamal encryption. This is the way how it works. So this we have done. This example we have done. Now, how to confirm the integrity of a message? The crypto system should be able to confirm the integrity of a message because everyone knows how to send a message. The recipient must be sure that the encryption was really issued by an authorized person, and the usual method of protecting against possible third-party forgeries is for the person sending the message to have a digital signature. I have already told you about digital signature in the previous lecture. So we are going to just study more about digital signatures, and we are going to see Al-Gamal digital signature also. So the usual method of protecting against possible third-party forgeries is for the person sending the message to have a digital signature, the electronic analog of handwritten signature. So in our real life, what we do, we are writing something, and to just make it authenticated, before giving it to someone else, we just make a signature on that. So that are handwritten signature, and to just make the message or whatever we are writing, it is to be authentic. But in digital world, what we are doing, we are using digital signature to make it authentic. So digital signatures are equivalent to traditional handwritten signatures in many respects, but properly implemented digital signatures are more difficult to forge than the handwritten type. Digital signature schemes, in the sense used here, are cryptographically based. So one of the cryptographic digital signature scheme we are going to see here, and that must be implemented properly to be effective. So digital signatures can also provide non-repudiation. Non-repudiation means that the signer cannot successfully claim that they did not sign a message. So means after signing something, you cannot deny that you did not sign, while also claiming their private key remains the secret. So let us see Al-Gamal digital signature. The Elgamal signature scheme is a digital signature scheme which is based on the difficulty of computing discrete logarithms. We already know that Elgamal crypto system strongness is based on discrete log problem. So same thing is here in Elgamal signature scheme also. It is based on the difficulty of solving discrete log problem. So it was described by Tahir Elgamal in 1985. A feature of Elgamal crypto system is an efficient procedure for authenticity of messages. So let us see this. Consider a user of the system who has public key PRA, the private key K, and the encrypted message M. So we have all this public key, the secret key, and the encrypted message M also. The first step towards supplying a signature is to choose an integer j from 1 to p minus 1, where j and p minus 1 they are relatively prime. So taking a piece of plain text message M, for instance, the first block B, the user computes C, which is congruent to r to the power j. So j, which we have chosen here, then we just compute r to the power j mod p. So this is C. Then obtains a solution of the linear congruence. This jd plus kc congruent to b mod p minus 1. D lies between 0 to p minus 2. The solution D can be found using the Euclidean algorithm. As you can see, this can be solved by using Euclidean algorithm. So the solution D can be found using Euclidean algorithm. The pair of integers CD is the required digital signature. So this C and D, which is found here, that becomes the digital signature. This pair CD is the required digital signature, and this is appended to the message. It can be created only by someone aware of the public key K and the random integer J and the message M. So only the sender can do this because he is knowing the public key and the random integer K and the message M. So this done like this. The recipient uses the sender's public key because this is public key, it is available. So the recipient can also access it. So the recipient uses sender's public key to confirm the purported signature. So he checks whether the right person has sent the message or not. So it is simply a matter of calculating two values, V1, which is a to the power c, c to the power d mod p, and V2, which is congruent to r to the power b modulo p, where V1 and V2 lies from 0 to p minus 1. The signature is accepted as legitimate when V1 is equal to V2. So the receiver will check these values V1 and V2, and if V1 is equal to V2, then the signature is genuine signature and the sender is a right sender. So notice we can see this thing how V1 is equal to V2. So V1 is a to the power c, c to the power d, which is congruent to, so a is r to the power k and c is r to the power j. So this is r to the power kc plus jd, and what is this? This is your p. So this is congruent to V2. Notice that the personal identification does not require the recipient to know the sender's private key. So this was the signature. Let us see this example. Here we are going to generate the signature. So the person having public key 43,322, this triplet, private key K, which is 15, and wants to sign the message, which is sell now. Let us see. This is carried out by first choosing an integer j from 0 to 42. That is this p minus 1. So, and j and 42 should be relatively prime. So let us see. Let us take j as 25. If the first block of the encoded reply is B, which is 13, so let us just suppose that this is the first block 13, then what the person calculates? He calculates the value of C, which is congruent to 3 to the power 25. So this is congruent to 5 modulo 43. Then solve the congruence this to find the value of D. So D will be 16 modulo 42. This is by Euclidean algorithm. The digital signature attached to the reply consists of the pair 5 and 16. So this, your C is 5 and here D is 16. So this pair CD, this becomes the digital signature. So then the message is appended with this signature and it is sent to the receiver. On its arrival, the signature is confirmed by checking the equality of the integers v1 and v2. Then what does the receiver do? He computes these two values v1 and v2. Let us just see it again. So this is your v1. So v1 is your a to the power c, c to the power d, and v2 is r to the power b. B is your block. So let us do this thing here. v1 is equal to 22 to the power 5 and 5 to the power 16. So we are doing under modulo 43. This will be 12, and v2 is 3 to the power 30, which is also 12 modulo 43. So v1 is equal to v2. That means the signature is genuine signature. So this is Elgamal digital signature. Now let us see some applications of cryptography in our real life. So one of the prominent examples of cryptography encryption these days is end-to-end encryption. In WhatsApp, in WhatsApp chat, you can see whenever you are going to just chat with someone, this strip is coming where it is written that this chat is end-to-end encrypted. So the cryptography is being used there. This feature is included in WhatsApp through the asymmetry model or via public key methods. Here only the destined member knows about the actual message. The receiver to whom you are messaging, only he knows what you are sending. No other person can know what you have written. So once after the installation of WhatsApp is finished, public keys are registered with the server and then the message is transmitted. The next real-time application of cryptography is digital signatures, as we have already seen about the digital signatures. In the situation that when two clients are necessary to sign the document for a business transaction, but when two clients never come across each other, they might not believe each other. So then encryption in the digital signatures ensures the enhanced authentication and the security. Because in your business also, when you do not know the other party, you have never met that person, then it is hard to believe that person. So in that case, we use digital signatures for authentication and security. Next application is timestamping. So timestamping is a technique that can certify that a certain electronic document or communication existed or was delivered at a certain time. So timestamping uses an encryption model called a blind signature scheme. Blind signature scheme allows the sender to get a message received by another party without revealing any information about the message to the other party. So, like we are sending a registered post. We are sending a letter through a registered post to our friend. So that is the same thing which the timestamping is very similar to sending a registered letter through your mail, but it provides an additional level of proof, and it can prove that a recipient received the specific document. So once the recipient received your letter, then you get to know that yes, it has been received. That is called timestamping. Then electronic money. This is very much popular these days. The definition of electronic money is a term that is still evolving. It includes transactions carried out electronically with a net transfer of funds from one party to another, which may be either debit or credit and can be either anonymous or identified. So there are both hardware and software implementations. Anonymous applications do not reveal the identity of the customer and are based on blind signature schemes. Next is disk encryption. Like you have some hard disk, then you just by disk encryption you encrypt the whole data in your disk and nobody can see what you have saved in the disk. So disk encryption is a technology which protects the information by converting it into unreadable code that cannot be deciphered easily by unauthorized people. Disk encryption uses disk encryption software or hardware to encrypt every bit of data that goes on a disk or disk volume. It is used to prevent unauthorized access to your data storage. So we are done with this lecture. Let us see what we have done in this third lecture of fifth module. So let us see. First of all, we did Berman cipher and then bordered code. So then after bordered code, we have seen exponential crypto system or polling element crypto system, then discrete log problem, and then Algol crypto system, which was based on discrete log problem. Then again we have seen Algol digital signature scheme also, and then finally we have seen the applications. So this lecture was completed in two parts. First, we have seen Bowman cipher, border code, and exponential crypto system, and also discrete log problem. These things were in the part one, and in now here in this part we have seen the Algol crypto system, then Algol digital signature and applications. So this is all about this lecture. These are the references which we have used in this lecture. Thank you.